All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm with Dannion Brinkley. Man, Danny and I have been talking off air about a lot of the things that we want to discuss. And Danny, it looks to me like there's limited chess moves left, but it's speeding up. It's almost like the game is speeding up. You got the thick fog over the cities, all over the metropolitan cities, the East Coast especially. A lot of people getting sick. You got the drones still flying around everywhere. We have now Mike Johnson, the House Speaker. We have terrorist attacks happening, the Tesla accident, the mowdown in New Orleans with the 15 people that were casualties. We have the mass shooting in New York. I mean, and it just looks like the list is getting longer and longer. And we just started the year. But the one thing that I was very surprised about, and I was even surprised that Trump won the election and there was no halt. But now it looks like another chess piece was taken off the chessboard, and that was Mike Johnson becoming Speaker of the House. There will not be a holdup on that, and so that moves us right into January 6th, which I'll let you take it from there and talk to my audience about why this is so important. Thank you, Dannion, for joining me.
Oh, but thanks for being here. But here's why it's so important. When you look at a system that is very complex, let's say that's very complex, and if it's ruled as long as people have said, we go back to July, the creation, Jekyll Island, the creating of the Federal Reserve, and the income tax. We go back to that in 1871. But when you take a good look and see where it is, the old is trying to hold on while this innovation is coming. The same Trumpism is coming, and all those hopes and dreams and all of that. So when you watch all these things happening, you see it as a program to test what people will react to when all of this is happening at once. And it's programmed and brought to the news in a certain way. From all the news that's out there, it's brought to a certain way. When you look at it to see what you're being trained to look at and understand, David. That's what they're doing. And these are all test models to watch reactions of every possible thing that you could describe it to be. So you're right. It is moving at a fast speed that they took down Johnson. Then you have McConnell saying that he's going to work against the isolationist ideas of Trump based on its America first. Okay. There is where the lines get drawn in watching how this unfolds. Because even in the talking about this fog, these were programs put forth under contract, proposals that went to DARPA, that went to the national advancement, the aeronautics. Everybody had a chance to see about developing aerosol weapons. Okay. And it was all out there in the 90s and early 2000s. So when you first hear this weaponization, okay, and you hear it as people are describing it and the smells to it, then it's a form of whatever those proposals were. And they're trying that. What is so funny to watch is that so many of the moves that are being made are being countered. And then you watch anger. You watch a true nature of the system, like all the people who, when you choose who gets commuted the death sentence, when you stop and you look as a grown individual, an American citizen, and you look at who he granted clemency to and who he did not, and the ones he left out when he was granting clemency over the death sentence, and you look at that, and you get a chance to see in insanity in the reasoning for why he did it. Okay, so then you know that Biden is not in control of what is happening now. And he hasn't been in control for how long? Okay, so who is the most dependent on? He's most dependent on Jill. Okay, and then his family of advisors that have been around him most of his life. Okay, who's controlled that entire life and how it operated on a political platform till now. So all these actions is to not pay attention to so much of the last days of him, but to slow down the possibilities of the exposing that everybody's setting forth to go about doing, that cleansing or that moment of truth that's coming. And all we're watching is the ability to try and stop that. But everything is being countered. Okay? Everything is being countered. Now, always remember, and we've had this conversation for years, this year, the Jubilee year, this year is important. It's important because if you believe in a grander scheme that this is a spiritual battle, okay, which I definitely believe that it is. And if you believe that, then in a Jubilee period, which are these sacred traditions and ceremonies and stuff that has happened based on these secret organizations that do all kind of whatever they do, this would be a time when it would be executed. There would be certain time. And so I'm watching this happen, but I'm watching the ability to anticipate their actions. Like, I don't understand what is with giving Soros the Presidential Freedom Award other than he was a big donator to the Democrats. Well,
they both got the award, correct? Or what was it? The medal?
Presidential Freedom Award is the highest
But
civilian honor you can get. Okay.
it's a
Would
big
he have
this. It's this, right? That's what it is to
uh-huh
Trump and everybody else.
100%, but would he have thought of that? Okay? Would he have thought about that? See, my point is to look at Joe Biden and to see if where he is in his state of mind, if he would have thought that, or someone could have just fed that to him. Someone could have just
I
fed
think
that to him.
they told him
Okay,
to do it, and
because
he just executed it.
you see, and all he had to do was say it. Okay, and then everything else happens because I've been a hospice volunteer for 47 years. I understand 47 years of knowing where he is mentally and what he's in control of and what he's not. Okay. So taking him out of the equation, okay, and using him to be shielded, he's going to the Pope to get cleansed. All the rituals of cleansing, he's going to go to the Pope as his last act. I mean, this is as ritualistic as he could possibly be.
Hold on,
Okay.
Dan. Let's let's just rewind for a second and talk about the initial shell shock that they've received from Trump even winning, and then now they thought there was going to be some kind of delay or holdup with Speaker Johnson, and he gets in. I don't know, the first or second round. Was it the first round?
First.
They weren't counting on that either. So two big chess moves. They've just lost two big pieces, and now we're going into January 6th. What moves are next for them? I mean, what could they possibly do?
Well, the only thing they could do is try to figure out how to sidetrack it because it still has to be verified. Okay. And this is what has to happen. They have to sidetrack it. You have to find a way to delay it and sidetrack it without being accused of what they accused Trump of doing 4 years ago. All right, this is the delicate line they have to walk. That's why you have to have so many distractions. You have to have so many distractions so you're caught up in individual things and distractions while this whole thing plays itself out. But the funny part about it, David, is this. So many of us are just watching it. So many people who would have never even believed this kind of stuff are just watching it. And they're watching it unfold in a timeline that shows the desperation of them. They had a 16-year plan. Americans and people who get tired of something or have enough of it band together and make a difference. It's like what we're doing here. The decisions have to be made of what we like and what we don't like, and they're throwing it literally in our face. They're throwing that in our face, that who they're honoring as the value of that presidency. And It's a
I've had,
pretty
I've had,
amazing. It's a pretty amazing time that we all live in, David.
it's
I'm
pretty
quite
incredible.
excited. I'm quite excited about it.
It's pretty insane. So now that there's, limited chess moves left and Trump is going to be sentenced, Carter, I think his funeral is the 9th or 10th. I can't remember when his funeral is, but it's around the same time period Trump is going to be sentenced. You said the flag is going to be flying at half mast. Well, I mean, and as Trump gets inaugurated, the flag will be at half mast. So this is
Worldwide,
very
listen,
symbolic for them,
worldwide.
right?
But
Worldwide.
when you think, yeah, stop for a moment though. Watch as dreary as it is, David. We who are Americans and we who are watching this, there is nowhere to hide from the reality that the most horrible things that we've heard or had a possible chance to believe are really true. Okay, and a new world is coming, and we have to be proactive. I watch your people, these people who are on this channel, because I'm doing Dannion.com, and I watch how many people have come to support me, and I thank them. But I watch how when I ask for the cry about calling and saying about we're against war and we're against child trafficking, how many people did that? Well, I had like 44 people from my world come back and tell me that they heard this on you and that they made that call. Okay. So I look at that as a proactive group of people. Okay. And thinking about where we are and looking at the fact that we have to stay very, very calm and watch the 6th. Because what they've put in place is that for the rest of his presidency, when he went into office, the flags were at half mast worldwide on every place in America, so that they could use that. They could use that as a way of seeing where Trump had taken America. If they're smart, they'll anticipate what I'm saying. They've already anticipated. And they'll say that's where he took over to say this is where the country was when Donald Trump stepped in to save it. It was at half mast. All that Democrat stuff and all the Jimmy Carters and the Department of Education and all that stuff is being symbolically represented to the whole world. And Joe is going to be at the Pope's. If that's not evil, if that's not a place where you can trust that.
So wait. Joe Biden will not be at the inauguration, or he's going to be with the Pope? I mean, what? I mean, he will be at the inauguration, correct? Who knows?
Well, look, I would say that this is just not a professional viewpoint, but thousands of hours around people who are in various stages of me watching where he is from I'd say a pretty good point of view, because I've been around hundreds of Parkinson's. I mean, I've been around hundreds of them. I would say that he was pretty close to not being cognitive.
Right.
He would be lapsing. So they have to keep him away from as many people as they could keep him away from. And if I'm right, then he will have no press in these events.
So there's some events coming up. There's J6 coming up. There's
Big
Jimmy
one.
Carter. Yeah, Jimmy Carter's funeral. There's Trump's
Yeah.
sentencing. They're saying that he's not going to get thrown in prison. That's what I'm hearing. He doesn't even need to show up, is what I'm hearing. And then there's the Trump rally, January 19th. And then why I don't understand why he's having a rally before the inauguration. Maybe you can explain that to me, my audience. And then
Okay,
the
well,
inauguration the 20th.
okay, I thought the same thing you did. I'm thinking the exact same thing you did. Why would you do that? Okay, you would do that based on something that was arrogant, or something that you're trying to balance, or something you're trying to bring into focus as a point of view. okay, or something about the fact that he could draw more people to the inauguration. I mean, I don't think he's that petty, okay, but you have to look and see why. Right? What is he marketing? What are the people that are associated with him marketing? What are they doing? So the sentencing will be a joke. It'll be a joke. You're not going to put the incoming president in jail over some bull crap. It's not going to happen. Nobody. They're trying to paint their truth on all of that. Every time you hear that, it's them trying to paint their truth on it. And so that everything that they know he's going to come after them for, they are now painting the characters. Look at poor Giuliani. Look at where he is.
They're projecting. And acute gaslighting, projecting, the whole thing, right?
All the way. But we're not buying it. This is the place. We're not buying it. We could come on this show and you could pull back a little bit and you could look at it and realize we are living in amazing times, amazing possibilities of, for once, it shows itself. It'll show itself where people can see it. And when you start giving presidential medals and you pardon somebody, you compute a sentence for somebody who 8 and 9-year-old little girls. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sorry. There has to be a threat that makes you at least somehow think it.
I've heard from a lot of other guests that he's going to inherit they're going to make sure that he inherits a complete mess, chaos, a lot of terrorist attacks. People have seen it on Sean Ryan's show. I've been talking about it for the last 40 years, Dannion, on my show, that terrorist attacks will be a problem in America. It will be a reality. It'll be a norm. Who do you think these immigrants really are? I mean, that are all coming here through the southern border, unvetted, undocumented. I believe they're going to be for a certain time as this. And I think a lot of my guests are saying that, yeah, the first 3, 6 months, maybe even a year, could last way longer than that. We could be suffering from massive, massive terror attacks, just them messing up the game, throwing the chessboard on the floor, kicking over the pieces, and stomping their feet. Basically, try to bring America to its knees. Does that sound like what you've heard?
Yeah. I don't think they have a chance at it. See, this is where I come from. I have a measure of how reality operates based on the legendary Dannion being dead boxes of knowledge. What I'm most famous for the future, for 50 years into the future. But also just watching this, and living in palliative and end-of-life care and fulfilling what I believe to be as my spiritual purpose and value here on this earth. So I'm always dealing with healthcare and the value of healthcare and how we're people who are in palliative and end of life and those who are taking care of them. This is what my life focuses on and helping those people. That's what I do. But I can watch it from that point of view and see things, understanding that I understood Joe Biden when it was Strom Thurmond, Joe Biden, and John McCain in the Senate. It was Strom Thurmond, senator from South Carolina. When I was in Washington, I saw Joe Biden every day. I saw him literally every day, always over at Strom's office. He was new. He was always over at Strom's office. And you never knew which John McCain came to work that day. You never knew what mood that person would be in, because I was there all the time. I was there all the time in that time period. So I knew a lot about his nature. So I could understand a lot of things that he's doing, but some of it has no specific meaning to him. It's something working through him or people working through him to bring attention to, or a shield or a guard or public recognition to protect them in some way. Or how it's, or why would it be? Why would he mix celebrities and people in there to cover those that that everyone has suspect about them?
It's pretty crazy to me how they're trying everything and
Right.
nothing's working. It's like it really is like the magic wore off, man. Like everything they're trying with all the intentions they have, it's just flopping back into their face. Like no, it's backfiring everything, everything. And I think it has to do with alternative media. I think it has to do with people waking up. I think Trump has been the grand exposer of all things. I mean, nothing that used to work for them is working anymore. It's just done. And I think it's going to continue that way. And I think they're going to be in disbelief all the way to the very end. They're not going to believe they lost.
They don't believe they have to accept it now. I mean, they have to
I don't think
accept
they
it,
are.
but they
I
have to
think
have the reasons for why, the reasons for why. And it will be this. If Joe would have left earlier and been the transitional president, there is no way they wouldn't have won. If they'd had more time and he would have done what he said he was going to do, so they let him out gracefully. Okay, but the point of it is when Hearst said that he was going to be he was going to be presented at trial as an elderly man with a bad memory, and they left him as the president of the United States of America. Okay, they left him as the president of the United States of America, and right there, the world should have stopped, and all of us should have listened to that and reacted to it. We shouldn't just be on the news or just doing the show. We should. I ring up my Congress representatives. I'll call them up. I don't mind supporting things and believing in things, but I like to take action. You don't just sit around. You take action. There are things that they're elected representatives. It's a fallen system and it's sold out and it's corrupt. But it doesn't mean our voices cannot be heard and we cannot be recognized as simple things that we are for or against. Because they get to Washington, and I know how it works. They get there. Well, I'm a very special interest kind of guy. I care about palliative and end of life care, and I care about caregivers, and I care about people who are afraid of dying and people trying to take care of them. Okay, that's who I care about. But
And
when you
boy, do I
see,
know, and boy, do I know that now. I understand it now more than ever with what I'm going through.
exactly. All right, so watch. There are so many of us there. Okay, there's so many of us there. But to watch the mistakes of it sanely as Americans, to watch the mistakes, and that is what we're not ever for again. Okay. I am not ever for a person that is going to go on trial for stolen documents that he had since he was in the Senate. And he's going to go on trial and he's not charged with the crime because he's going to be seen as an elderly person with a bad memory. And he stays the president of the United States. Okay. Right there is where we failed, where we American people failed. We should have said, okay, wait a minute here. This is all crazy. This is where it's crazy. And I'm supposed to listen. I'm supposed to listen to that and not take action, not the Democrats, nor the Republicans, to not take action on the
But it
independents.
worked out for us. It worked out for us. Look who's coming back into office. I think as Juanito said, and that's how we're going to win this, and exactly how it played out. I mean, Dannion, what do you see them doing now? I guess anything, right? Right now, we can expect anything. I would imagine some very desperate panic moves now that they lost the election, lost the Speaker of the House. They weren't able to delay it. Now we're going to January 6th. What can you tell my audience? What do you think in your mind, with your experience, do you see them doing?
They have to delay it. You have to make sure you don't certify it. Okay, and you have to have every kind of reason, even the sentencing. Okay, there are so many
Well, how can they
ways.
do? How's it going to be believable? It's just
But this is the joy of this conversation. This is the joy of this conversation. The the good guys are winning. Okay, they are smart. They are tactical. If they could keep the flags of the American fleets at half mast, they have a triumph photograph of the presidency at half mast, and they're gloating over that. See, people, I understand the subtleness of that politics is a blood sport. You know, it's a series of hate crimes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. That's what politics is. So I watch how they gloat over it when they don't see the tide could be turned so fast. And it's just wonderful to see that balance. I'm very cheerful. I mean, I see a lot of stress and crisis. I mean, I see it and I see it all around us. But it's a changing of a world. The world I was born in 75 years ago is gone. It's gone and it's never coming back. So it's the new world I'm watching and trying to contribute to creating. It's a new world. And if we don't grab it, and we don't take responsibility for it, and if we don't act consciously about it, we fail ourselves and we live in hysterics. Well, screw that. Here we are. We know what we just went through was wrong. On every level, we could see it from the most evil thoughts. It's wrong. And what is our opportunity with this change and to control the government in the illusion of that the presidency, the judicial, the executive, and legislative only do anything, but in the hopes that we can change and what Trump said, to make America great again, to make America prosperous and make America centered in values and parts about what it holds as truths, and get back to that kind of mentality, which is very capable of achieving it. And I see that without starting a war, how do they create enough havoc that he's facing coming in? So the six would be big. Okay, how they jockey the position and how they're going to sentence him. All of that comes into judicial reaction, but they have nothing.
I don't see what they can do. I don't know, except some kind of big terrorist event. I don't know.
I don't even think that would work.
Yeah, yeah, because then he can always get inaugurated in a basement somewhere or whatever. I mean, he's gonna. I mean, I think the most important date for them is J6. They have to do something by J6
I agree.
in a couple
I
days.
agree.
So I'm gonna put this up tomorrow and on Sunday, which will be the 5th. I'll get this up on YouTube. Dannion, I appreciate you coming on.
Come on, always. And I'm here. Just everybody, just go to Dannion.com and help me do what I'm doing.
You got it. Dannion.com, folks. I'll put the link down below. Support Dannion. Dannion, thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for being you.
That's not hard. I'm just me. All right, Dannion, thank you. God bless you. Thank you so much.
I hope we find that place to get that audience centered. If we center them, David, if we give them parameters, right? While you going in so many ways and so many different directions, we give them parameters to observe from, okay? We give them ways to look at the situation, to narrow down the results of what they're going to see, right? When they look at it from the viewpoint that we're giving them, then they see clearly what we're saying. All right. That's what I was trying to do, so that they are experiencing, living it and watching it as we're observing it. This is what they would do. Okay, watch how we're structuring it. And I'm listening to how the audience will hear it, see? Because if we do it that way we make them insightful, not depending on, but insightful into how to look at situations that you could capitalize on it. Why not give information that could be used for I don't quite yet have it in my mind how you would create opportunity for people. But it's the same thing as the goal people. I mean, there's got to be structures out there that exist that benefit people doing that. Why not? I mean, I don't see why not.
Thank you, Dannion.
All right, so listen, be safe, be loved, be appreciated, and call me if you need me.
You got it.